their mouth. Then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge. Now they back in the huddle. Now they know we can fight. Content given every week. Me and Dr. Rip Shot. Keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we hitting. And they know we ain't quitting. Yo, she mind the genius. Keep on bringing and giving. Unity, unity, unity. Cause they know we ain't stopping. And they know they got problems. And they ran out of options. If we know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Brain brains learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma is karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see y'all fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my client winners, 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 divine winners, client winners, client winner, client winners. I'm with you, ride with you, master teacher, create master client winners. Give respect to the elder, client winners.
I have not cursed. I have not defiled. I have not confounded truth. I have not distinguished. I have not cursed again. How's everybody doing out there? See Michael, Nashaba, Go Travel Abroad. What up, though? Lewis Hicks. Oh, cool dude. Dan, baby. Dan! What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Winters. I'm here to talk a little bit about this thing going on. You know, there's a big talk lately about what's happening in terms of Egypt. There's this controversy. It began when Kevin Hart, when he said that he was supposed to go with Egypt, and he said that the Egyptians were black. And the Egyptians got upset with this. They got butthurt. But they shouldn't have got butthurt. Oh, before I get started, I want to thank, I was just playing the Clyde Witness. That was made by the genius. Yes, the genius. Yoshi Mod. You got to go and you got to look at his website. You got to go and get his music on Spotify. This brother is the genius. He's the guy that's making the real hip hop, the new hip hop. And so again, I want to thank Yoshi Mod for making that introduction for me. And I hope you guys liked it. But anyway, this whole thing started because of the fact that the Egyptians are butthurt, and they're butthurt because of the fact that Netflix dared to do a video. They're going to do a documentary about Queen Cleopatra. You know, Queen Cleopatra, since I was a kid, I was always told that my father-in-law, my father, everybody, they always made it clear that that Cleopatra was black. I'll tell you when I got a little older, and they started telling me that Cleopatra was a Greek, I said, oh, no. I said, damn, if she's a Greek, then damn, she can't be black. But that's what I thought. But today what we're going to talk about is I want to talk to you about this whole idea of Cleopatra and what was her real ancestry. Because, see, a lot of people out there, they're going to tell you a lot of lies, you know. A lot of, I'm sorry to say that we got plenty of foundational Black American anthropologists, historians. But I'm sad to say that many of these people do not have the nerve to tell you the truth about our history. They don't have the nerve to really examine and tell you the truth, you see. But I want to tell you the truth. But what I did is that in talking about who Cleopatra was, what I'm going to do is that I want to show you the proof. And the proof is in the pudding. You see, many people forget that the Egyptians, they always made statues. They always made busts. They made all of this great iconographic evidence of their rulers. And you know what we're going to do tonight is that we're going to look at the Egyptian evidence. And we're going to try to see, you know, was Cleopatra black? You know, please join my Patreon. These slides that I'm going to use to make this presentation, they're going to be on my Patreon. So if you want to get a copy of the slides or you want to see the slides, you'll be able to see these slides. But join my Patreon. My Patreon supports my research. In fact, they supported this research. Any research I do is based upon the support that I get from my Patreon. You can go to, this is my YouTube channel, and I've got over I've got hundreds of videos on every, and I mean every aspect of Black history. I hope that what you'll do is I hope that you'll subscribe. Please subscribe to to my channel, and put some likes on this video because it helps let many people know about my site, and it also encourages people to want to get to know their history. See, that's what it's all about. I'm not here to tell you lies. I'm not here to try to propagandize. I'm here to teach you. That's my goal, to teach you. My Twitter is Dr. Clyde Winters 8. I'm on Twitter every now and then, but not too much. You can order my books at Amazon.com. Yes, Amazon.com. You go to Amazon.com, you can find all of my books. I think it's about 30, 40, something like that. But anyway, go here and get my books so you can know more about this Black history thing. Cleopatra was black. You know, here we have, in a sense, these are various Cleopatras. We see Elizabeth Taylor, you see. Then in the middle, we see the new star, this biracial girl that's going to play Cleopatra. But people are all upset because they feel that how can you dare? How would you dare? How would you dare say that a Black woman was Cleopatra when they've always known that Cleopatra was white? And they knew Cleopatra was white because they saw Elizabeth Taylor. But was that really true? Controversy around Netflix Cleopatra. Egypt has accused Netflix of misrepresenting history by casting a Black woman to play Cleopatra, its most famous historical figure. In a new series that begins May 10th, over 60,000 people, yes, over 60,000 people, they signed a petition. And this petition called for the cancellation of the show. And they want the show canceled. Why? Not because it might be a distortion of history. They want it canceled just because it's about a Black woman playing Cleopatra. And we live in a society. We're in a society where white supremacy, Western white supremacy, dominates the ideology of the world, you see. And these white people, they're so upset. They're so upset that Netflix could dare to take away one of their mythical heroes. And yes, a white Cleopatra, she's their mythical hero, you see. But she's a mythical hero because of the fact that the evidence may not prove what they said. And you have all these people. Everybody's become a scholar. Everybody's become an authority on on Cleopatra. They talk about the wokeness. They don't even know what woke means. Woke means always to be aware. Woke means to keep your eyes on the prize. Woke means that you should be prepared to make sure that you know what you're talking about and watch out and look out for those Europeans. Watch out, look out for that white supremacy. Because, see, white supremacists, they've always been telling lies about history because they have no history. Sadly, they have no history. And because of the fact that they have no history, they always have to hijack the history of Black people, because Black people, we were the first. We were the beginning. We were God's first creation. You see? And so they found it because of the fact that the Western world has hegemony over the writing of history, they've been able to convince the world that every ancient civilization was white. But it's not true. It's not true. But what we got to do now is we got to try to see if the Netflix people, the directors, and the other people involved in the film, did they do the right thing? Was Cleopatra Black? Yes, yes. The Egypt Ministry of Tourism and Antiquity said that the documentary requires those in charge of its production to investigate accuracy and rely on historical and scientific fact. Dr. Mustafa Aziri, Secretary General, Supreme Council of Antiquities in Egypt, said that making Cleopatra Black was a falsification of Egyptian history and a blatant historical fallacy. Whoa, those are some strong words. He added that, and I quote, "Far from any ethnic racism, stressing full respect for African civilizations and for our brothers in the African continent that brings us all together." What are you talking about? Your brothers in the African continent? Egypt is in Africa, dummy. Egypt is in Africa. It's in Africa. But these people act as though Egypt is not part of the African continent. But let's keep going. He also said, Egyptians did not bear the features of sub-Saharan Africans, said Dr. Samia El-Magani, former Director General of the Center for Research and Conservation of Antiquities, citing evidence from anthropological studies and DNA tests. Also, the DNA tests showed that the Egyptians weren't Black. Interesting. We'll come back to that later. Many Kamiu, or Egyptians, they fled the country as non-Egyptians began to rule ancient Egypt. Beginning with the Assyrian defeat of the 25th dynasty, large numbers of nomadic people from the Middle East began to migrate into Egypt. These foreign people began to take over many Egyptian settlements. In response, Egyptians fled to Nubia and Kush to avoid non-Egyptian rule. This is the Assyrian king Esarhaddon. What? Wait a minute. He's an Assyrian? He can't be an Assyrian. White folks say that the Assyrians. Well, why? They said that the Assyrians had to be white. But look, here's an Assyrian king, Esarhaddon. And you can definitely see that this brother was not a Caucasian. He was not white. He had a braided beard and he had braided hair. Why? Because of his Blackness. See, many people forget in a sense that just because the Egyptians fought the Assyrians and the Egyptians, or Kamenu, because of the fact they fought the Cushites and the Nubians, they always like to make it seem as though it was a race war. It wasn't a race war. They were all the same people. You see? That's why as more and more people began to come from the Middle East into Egypt, where did the original Egyptians go? They went into the south. They went into Upper Kush, and they joined, in a sense, the Merodes and other people in Kerma, because of the fact, in a sense, they wanted to maintain their identity. You see? It's Kamiu. You see? The Black people. Other political and military conflicts erupted. After the Assyrians defeated the 25th dynasty, these incidents led to many Egyptians to migrate out of Egypt into Nubia and Kush. For example, Herodotus mentions a mutiny of Psamtik, one's frontier garrison at El Elephantine. These deserters moved into Kush. Here's a picture of Psamtik, one. One of the things that you have to notice is that often when they bring up Egyptians, they always try to destroy the nose. And one of the reasons they try to destroy the nose is on many Egyptian figures is because of the fact that they feel that if you see that wide nose, then you would automatically know that the Egyptians must have been Black. But they feel in the sense that they just destroy the nodes, you get a different idea. But that doesn't change the fact. But this is up Ptolemaic the first. Nectar boasts the second. The Arcanizing trend to Kush among the post-25th dynasty kings testified to a possible large migration of Egyptians into Kush and out of Kemet. In 343 BC, Nectanebos II fled to Upper Egypt. Later, according to the Natasan period stela, we have evidence of other Egyptians migrating into Kush from Egypt. Okay, now again, this is a Nectanebos II, and as you can see, again, we see this nose that's been destroyed. And see, but when they talk about Arcanizing, what they're talking about the fact is that many of the kings after the 25th dynasty, these kings, in a sense, they began to wear the double uraeus or crown that was stylized by the 25th dynasty. Here we see a picture of Taharqa, and then we see that Taharqa has, in a sense, the double uraeus. And we also see right next to him is a picture of Cleopatra. Oh yes, that's supposed to be an authentic picture of Cleopatra. You see, wow, she has a wide nose and big lips. Really? Ptolemy II. This is one of the first great kings. This is Ptolemy II. Between the 260s to 270 BC, Upper Egyptian nationalists were fighting the Ptolemy Greek rulers of Egypt. The rebellion was put down by Ptolemy II. This military action led to Egyptians migrating out of Egypt into Kush. Rebellions continued in Egypt into the 2nd century BC. This is Ptolemy II. Let me see. Wow. Wow. He doesn't look Greek to me, but he was Greek. Ptolemy II to Ptolemy V. On the left-hand side, we have Ptolemy II, then we have Ptolemy V. Ptolemy V, you can see more of those European characteristics that we associate with Caucasians. We can see the curly hair. We see, in a sense, the eyes, the lips, but we still see, in a sense, that he has big nose lips. Between Ptolemy II and Ptolemy V, the Greeks began to settle Egypt. This was especially true in the 150s BC. These conflicts led to many Egyptians migrating into Nubia and the Sudan. By the time the Romans entered Egypt, many Egyptians had already left Egypt and settled in the Meroitic Sudan. Roman politics also forced many Egyptians to migrate into Kush. This was compounded by the introduction of the Pax Augusta policy of the Romans, which sought the establishment of Roman hegemony within territories under Roman rule. And at that time, Egypt was under Roman rule, so they wanted to make sure that they, kept the Egyptians in check. This led to the immigration of many Romans into Egypt and the migration of Egyptians into Kush. Again, as I said, as many of these non-Egyptian people began to take control of this ancient area, we find, in a sense, that many other people began, in a sense, who were the Egyptians, the Kamitru. They began, in a sense, the black people. They began to migrate into Kush to get away from these foreign rulers. Okay, they talked a lot about the fact that the Macedonians, that we know, or they know that Cleopatra had to be white because she was a descendant of the Macedonians, and the Macedonians, they're part of what we call Greece today. And here's an example of a so-called ancient Macedonian, and the ancient Macedonians were not Greeks, and this is not a real statue of the Macedonians. What you have to understand is that they made these fake statues, and this is a fake statue. This is a fake statue. They really don't have a lot of statues that come from that period, you see. And so then what they did is that they made statues, and they convinced us that these are authentic statues that date back to the Grecian period, but they don't. This is a fake statue. Is it true when Egypt's Ministry of Tourism and Antiquity argues that coins and statues from the time show a light-skinned woman in keeping with Cleopatra's Macedonian Greek ancestry? Is it true? Hell no. Here are Macedonian artifacts. Look. Look at these riders. We see, in a sense, we have two funerary reliefs of Macedonian riders. They're on their horses. But look at that hair. Look at that hair. That hair is nappy. Look at those teeth. Look how they made it to show the characteristic hair of black people. These are your Macedonians. And in the middle, they tell you that these light-skinned, that Cleopatra had to be light-skinned because the coins from the Macedonian period show nothing but these white, light-skinned women, white-skinned people. But look, here's one of your Macedonian coins in the middle. Again, we see, what do we see? We see a brother. We see a brother with a wide nose, thick lips, and kinky nappy hair. But look, that kinky nappy hair is also the hair that's associated with these horsemen. So when those people from Egypt and those people, those Caucasians all around the world telling you that the Macedonians were white, they were light-skinned, or they were so dainty with their white pale skins, they're lying to you. Yes, many Macedonians, as they married white women, then in a sense Caucasian women, especially Caucasian women from Ukraine, they became lighter. But you had to remember this. Is that the Macedonians were a black people like everybody else. Every continent was black. They try to convince you that ancient Europe was black. No, ancient Europe was white. Ancient Europe was not white. Europe was a black continent just like Africa. Just like the ancient Americas. Every continent had an aboriginal black population, and the Macedonians were the same. So when they're telling you that Cleopatra had to be white because she was Macedonian, here's your Macedonians. They're lying to you. They hope you won't do the research. And the history of Macedonia is complicated. Here we see a Macedonian coin, but then we see another Macedonian coin. And if you look at this Macedonian coin on the right side, what do we see? We see a Negroid person on the left-hand side, and we see, in a sense, maybe a Caucasian on the other. What does this tell you? What this tells you is that it tells you the history of the Macedonians. It tells you that the original Macedonians, represented by that small head, was a black people. But over time, as they mated with more white women, then they became lighter. Then they became, in a sense, light, but they didn't all disappear, I was looking at this video today, and they were talking about when the Germans came into Russia, and they were going into Ukraine and some of the other countries. There was a lot of black people among those Russians. So I mean, it was a lot of black people in Europe even up until very recently. But the more they married with white women, then in a sense they became lighter. But you got to remember what did Francis Welsing teach us? Francis Welsing taught us that Caucasians are afraid to mate with black people because of the fact that when they mate with us, we change physiognomy. We change everything, you see. But see, these are your Macedonians. These are the Macedonians who were supposed to be so light-skinned, supposed to be so wide that the Egyptians are crying about. They got a lawyer that's suing Netflix. And he's suing Netflix because he's saying that Netflix is misrepresenting Cleopatra because of her Macedonian light, creamy skin ancestors. These are your Macedonians. That's why they don't want you to study history. That's why they don't want you to know the truth, because when you don't study history, when you don't know the truth, you accept the lie. The Macedonians make it clear they were not Greeks. Here you see two statues. You see one on the left, you see one on the right. The one on the left is fake. It's fake. It's fake. That's not an authentic statue of the Macedonians. That's not an authentic statue of the Greeks. It's that statue on the right side. You see, that statue dates back to 300 BC. That's how many of the Greeks looked. But they want you to believe that the Greeks look like that fake statue on the left-hand side. It's fake. That statue on the right-hand side is a statue of a Greek youth. That statue on the left-hand side is something that they made up. Let's look at, they talk about the genetics. Let's look at the genetic evidence that these Macedonians were lily white-skinned Caucasians. In this article, LA Genes and Macedonians in the sub-Saharan origin of the Greeks, it was written by A. Arnez Villena. I'm going to read the abstract to you. Pay attention. HLA alleles have been determined in individuals from the Republic of Macedonia by DNA typing and sequencing. HLA-A, B, DR, DQ allele frequencies and extended haplotypes have been for the first time determined, and the results compared to those of other Mediterraneans, particularly with their neighboring Greeks. Genetic distances, neighbor joining dendrographs, and correspondence analysis have been performed. The following conclusions have been reached. 1. Macedonians belong to the older Mediterranean substratum, like Iberians, including Basques, North Africans, Italians, French, Cretans, Jews, Lebanese, Turks, Anatolians, Armenians, and Iranians. 2. Listen, and you can read along with me if you wish. Macedonians are not related with geographically close Greeks. What? Great? What? I got to read that again. Macedonians are not related with geographically close Greeks who do not belong to the older, that means the older black folk Mediterranean substratum. Number 3, this is the red, number 3. Greeks are found to have a substantial relatedness to sub-Saharan Ethiopian people. Wait a minute. These people are fighting the people at Netflix. They want to sue them and go to court because they're saying the Macedonians were not related to black people. Macedonians were lily white. Oh. But that's not what the genetic data shows. Let me read that again, number 3. Greeks are found to have a substantial relatedness to sub-Saharan Ethiopian people, which separates them from other Mediterranean groups. Both Greeks and Ethiopians share quasi-specific DRB1 alleles, such as 0305, 0307, 0411, 0413, 0416, 0417, 0420, 110, 11112, 1304, and 1310. What are these Egyptians talking about? What are they talking about? The DNA shows that the Macedonians were lily white with light skin. DNA really can't show your color, you know. But again, in a sense, the genetic data shows that the Macedonians they were of African origin. So if the DNA is of African origin, is it any wonder that Cleopatra would have been black? But let me continue. Genetic distances are closer between Greeks and Ethiopians, sub-Saharan groups, than to any other Mediterranean group. What? The Greeks are closer to the Ethiopians, and black people like me, black people like you, black people like us. Oh, get out of here, you dumbass Egyptians. Stop lying. I'll read it again. Genetic distances are closer between Greeks and Ethiopian, sub-Saharan groups than to any other Mediterranean group. And finally, Greeks cluster with Ethiopian, sub-Saharan in both neighbor, joining dendrograms, and correspondence analysis. The time period when these relationships might have occurred was ancient. Wow. Do you see? These people are lying to you. They want to hijack a history that they don't have. Those present Egyptians, they are descendants of Turks. They're descendants of Syrian white Arabs. You see, they'll say, oh, the Berbers, then they'll show you some pictures of some Germanic people, and they're even wearing German costumes. That's because those Berbers, those white Berbers, they're related to the Vandals. Yes, the Vandals. The Vandals They left Germany and they migrated to North Africa and they became your Berbers. That's why many of the much of the language of these white Berbers is of Germanic origin. Yes, yes. Lies, 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 lies. Europeans love to tell lies because they have no history. Here's a picture of Alexander the Great. They believe this is Alexander the Great. And given the genetic evidence, we must conclude that the Macedonians who ruled Egypt were of Negro black ancestry, right? I just read the genetics. They're telling you the genetics show that the Macedonians were Caucasian, but it doesn't. All lies. But what I really like about this particular silver decadrachm of Alexander the Great dating to 324 BC, this is the only image of Alexander that has survived. But look at this. Look at this. Look in that top, in the upper left-hand corner. You see a guy carrying, in a sense, a wreath to put on Alexander the Great. And look at that brother. When I enlarge it on the left-hand side, you can see this brother had an afro. You can see his Negroid features. And again, this is pointing back to the fact that the Macedonians were blessed by black people. The Macedonians are black people. The Macedonians were proud of being black, you know? And historical evidence discovered by J. Rogers shows that Alexander, in a sense, he was raised by a black woman. Yes. They love to lie to you. But you have to learn your history. That's why I came here to tell you what your other so-called regurgitators aren't going to tell you. I'm here to tell you who Cleopatra was, and I'm giving you the receipts. Here we have, in a sense, a Greek pharaoh. On the right-hand side, we see how this Ptolemaic pharaoh looked. But then on the left-hand side, this is how they claim that this Ptolemaic pharaoh looked. He didn't look like that. You can look at it, you can look and tell that this is an ancient artifact. It's fake. But see, they have to create a fake history. Europeans have to create a fake history because they don't have a history. You see, Cleopatra VII of Cleopatra, she lived 69, August 12 to 30 BC. Cleopatra VII Philopator, known to history simply as Cleopatra, was the last active pharaoh of the Ptolemaic Egypt. Shortly survived as pharaoh by her son, Caesarion. After her reign, Egypt became a province of the then recently established Roman Empire. Cleopatra was a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a family of Macedonian Greek origin that ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great's death during the Hellenistic period. The Ptolemies throughout their dynasty spoke Greek and refused to speak Egyptian, which is the reason that Greek as well as the Egyptian language were used on official court documents such as a Rosetta Stone. By contrast, Cleopatra did learn to speak Egyptian and represent herself as the reincarnation of an Egyptian goddess, Isis. You know, in the middle picture, under sort of by popular demand, I show a picture of Cleopatra's father. As you can see, her father shows clear African ancestry. You can look at he looks just like any of the other pharaohs, you see. And then we look at this bust of Cleopatra. She has wide nose, she has thick lips, and then she has braids. But look at those braids. Those braids are the same type of braids that black women wear today in Britain, in the United States, in the Caribbean. Yes, yes, yes. But they want to tell you that Cleopatra was lily white. She had a lily white skin. She was so light. She was so white. Oh, oh, oh. Here's some pictures of Cleopatra II. I already showed you the bust on the left side. Here's an Egyptian picture of Cleopatra II, you know, the seventh, on the right-hand side. Again, look at her features. You can tell that bust was probably made when she was older. But look at this picture when she was young. You see, wide nose, lips, but they don't show that picture. They always show you this picture in the middle. And this so-called statue in the middle, they say this middle picture is in a sense how Cleopatra looked. Now I've given you Cleopatra on the left-hand side when she was older, and then I give you Cleopatra on the right-hand side when she was younger. She doesn't look like that picture. Look at that nose. Fake, fake, fake. Fake. But that fake is what they show you and tell you that's how Cleopatra looked. But when you do research, and that's why I'm about real research. I'm about going to the sources. When you go do real research, you can tell in a sense that people are bullishing you about our history. This is how Cleopatra VII really looked. You see? Zawi Hawass said, and I quote, Cleopatra was not black. If we see statues and forms of her father and brother, we will not find any evidence supporting this claim that she was black. Really? Yeah, really. Zahi Hawass, you're a liar. These pictures of Cleopatra VII showed that she was black. Look at that picture on the right-hand side and the one in the middle. And all of them show that she wore braids. White women can't wear braids, they wear ponytails. You can only do braids if you got black ancestry. And yet they want to tell you, Zahi Hawass says, no way, she could have been black. But this is the Egyptian evidence of Cleopatra VII. It shows that she was black. Here's another picture of Cleopatra VII. Here we see her, and you can look on the right-hand side. We see another picture of her. Where does she look European? Where does she look Caucasian? And again, look at her hair. Her hair is all in braids. In braids. That's what black women wear, not Caucasian women. I'm not saying, and this is something that I want you to understand. I'm not saying that Cleopatra was not Greek, because I already showed you that the Macedonians the Macedonians were black too, many of them. I showed you their coins. I showed you their artifacts. I showed you how that Assyrian king, he had braids, so he was black. Stop it believing lies. You see Europeans every day on TV. You see Europeans maybe when you go to work or when you go downtown. And you don't see Europeans with braids like these. They got it tied in a ponytail. Okay, here we have a picture of Cleopatra on the left-hand side. And then we have two pictures of Hatshepsut. Do you see any difference between Cleopatra and Hatshepsut? In fact, Hatshepsut had more finer features, so-called fine features. See what black people forget. Whenever you see an East African, or you see a black woman with a hook nose and with thin lips, automatically, oh, she looks white. No, whites look like you. We're the first people on earth. They look like you. Stop. Here's a picture of Cleopatra with her braids. And then we see a picture of Hatshepsut. We know people say Hatshepsut was black, and you can see Cleopatra was black too. Stop listening to their lies. You know, they always tell you the DNA. I already showed you the DNA of the Macedonians, didn't I? I showed you that Arnez, when he did his study, I showed you how he found, in a sense, that the DNA of the Macedonians showed that they were black. Ethiopians. And now look at what? You mean the BBC? The BBC said Cleopatra's mother and sister were black? What? You mean they didn't look like Elizabeth Taylor? Wow. Let me read it. The BBC reported that Queen Cleopatra was a descendant of Ptolemy, the Macedonian general, who ruled Egypt after Alexander the Great. But remains of the queen's sister, Princess Asinoe, found in Ephesus, Turkey, indicate that her mother had an African skeleton. Yes, an African skeleton. She was a Negro. Experts have described the results as a real sensation. Yeah, a real sensation. Yeah, it's a real sensation because they had been lied to. They had always thought that Cleopatra had to look like Elizabeth Taylor. But that movie was a lie. Let me continue. Neil Oliver, one of the researchers who studies the DNA, said, and I quote, "When I stood in the lab and handled the bones of Cleopatra's blood sister, knowing that in her lifetime she touched Cleopatra and perhaps Julius Caesar and Mark Antony as well, I felt the hair go up on the back of my neck." Cleopatra's mother was African. Her sister was African. So Cleopatra had to be what? She was African too. And yet these people want to go to court. They want to tell a lie. They want to try to start some mess. They want to sue Netflix because they say Netflix is misrepresenting their history. Netflix is misrepresenting their people. No, they're telling the truth. Cleopatra was black. Here's Caesarion. This was the oldest son of Cleopatra and the only known biological son of Julius Caesar, after whom he was named. Okay. On the far left-hand side, we see, in a sense, a picture of Cleopatra. And then we see another Egyptian picture. But look at this. Have you noticed how they cut out on this particular picture of Cleopatra and her son Caesarion? Have you noticed how they cut around the edges of the face? Isn't that interesting? Yes, it is interesting. They cut out the edge of the face because they wanted to make their noses a little bit longer. They wanted to make their noses a little bit more pointed. They wanted to make them look more European. See? But then we see that third picture, that second picture from the right, we see another Egyptian picture of Caesarion. Yeah, he had curly hair. But look again, his face, his lips. They had to erase his nose because they didn't want you to see how Caesarion was. They even defaced Egyptian monuments. They defaced the monument that showed Cleopatra and her son Caesarion just so they could try to make them look Caucasian. And then finally, to the far right-hand side, they give you this fake statue, and they say this is Caesarion. That doesn't look like Caesarion. That just looks like a white boy. Lies. This is Cleopatra 7. Look at the braids. A Caucasian woman, she can't braid her hair like that. Here's Cleopatra the 7th. And here's the lady. Look at this woman. Look at her lips. The woman playing her. Look at her nose. Look at her eyes. You know what? When you look at that picture on the left of Cleopatra, and you look at the sister that's playing Cleopatra today, damn, I have to say they did some damn good casting. Look, they almost favor. But you decide, was Cleopatra the 7th black? In summary, we can argue forever the ethnicity of Cleopatra. But what we do know is that the original Macedonians were black. Over time, they became more Caucasian looking. But It appears that over time, these people look more mulatto as they ruled Egypt. As a result, it's up to you to decide what race Cleopatra was. Yes, you have to decide. You have to do this, you see, because it is obvious. And what is obvious? It's obvious in the sense that Cleopatra was not white. Cleopatra, just like other people of Egypt, you see, was black. I've already shown you how the Macedonians also, they were black too. Over time, they married white women and they married white men, and they became lighter and lighter and lighter progressively. But as you can see, Cleopatra was black. Cleopatra was not white. Cleopatra was never lily white. And yet, no matter what Europeans may want to say, no matter what Europeans may want to do, they cannot, in a sense, teach a lie forever. And luckily, today, we know the truth, and I've given you the receipts. Cleopatra was black. Have a great evening. Take care. Bye.